Now we are already live. And welcome, Sasha. This is our first Azure MVP Unplugged for this year. And I'm very happy to have Sasha Kranjac, who is with a very interesting profile. Sasha is Microsoft Regional Director, MVP in Azure Security, author of several books, and really very active expert in the community and in the business. So welcome, Sasha.
Thank you, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
I will ask you to share some details about you because in Bulgaria, maybe some people don't know enough about what you are doing, what exactly is your main profile. Yes, there are several books that you wrote, preliminary for security, but it will be great if people in our region know a little more about you.
Yes, and as you said, I'm a CEO of several companies, not just this one, but I have several more. And That's why I said cloud security XYZ, because I'm not just doing the Microsoft or Azure security. I also involved with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud Platform, and other things as well. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director, and also Security MVP and Azure MVP as well. But I have more than 100 certifications so far. So I'm also MCT and an MCT regional lead. Also do also CompTIA trainer. I'm also EC Council trainer as well, instructor. So I'm certified in EC Council as well, certifications. And mostly I have been involved with computers since 80s, and worked with Windows and Linuxes actually from back then. The first version I laid my hands on was Windows 3.1, actually Windows Server 3.5, and then I worked with every version since then. So it's and with some Linuxes, like especially. The first thing I've learned was assembler, and then I went to other things, Pascal and C, and so on, and so forth, with Sir Clive Sinclair's ZX Spectrum and Commodores and so on. So that was that was back a long time ago. And after that, it was on premises mainly, right? And then I started with Azure when it was in beta, when it was called Red Dog, in fact. And in the meantime, yeah, also author of author of several books. So this is just the presentation, but yeah, a couple of them. There's the Amazon page that has these books that I've written. Some of them alone, like this one, the only author, and then with some other colleagues, with Omar Kudovic, who is also the Microsoft MVP as well, etc. Some older titles like MCSC and so on, and have been also the technical reviewer of some other titles and books. So this is also has been quite a journey. But
This is a lot of effort. Really impressive.
yes, I sleep fast, so that that is how I do it. Or when I fly, for example, or so that's usually when I do some books. But every day a little bit, couple of words or a couple of paragraphs. So some days are nothing, some days are is a page, for example. But yeah, that cumulatively over the couple of months, there is a book, and it's easier to write with someone, right? You share the effort. So
Understand.
yeah.
And it is really interesting for people in our community if we can discuss a little more about security in Azure, because this webcast is Azure MVP Unplugged. That means a little non-formal direction of discussion regarding to different topics in Azure and also delivered from Azure MVPs. So many people work with Azure nowadays, but not so many knows in details about security and what exactly they need to follow. We have several different directions, general practices, of course, but also a lot of services that are now offered from Microsoft and third-party vendors. And we have security center, we have defenders, we have Sentinel, we have Copilot for security. How to use all these services and how we can get the main advantage for our solutions. I'm trying to start the discussion more general, and if attendees have some specific questions, of course, maybe you will go into details.
Yeah, definitely. Don't if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to ask. Um, Speaking of which, I just remember that I have one very nice slide that actually tries to encompass some of the typical attack vectors and attack paths for a presentation that I did in somewhere. So it is specifically for Microsoft 365 Defender, but in fact, let's take it from there, just to initiate the conversation, and then we can also apply apply this to Azure, since I think that you can't be a very good security person if you don't also span to other places as well, because today the ecosystem and the landscape is not homogeneous, right? So it's not contained in only one place. So you can't say, okay, I'm solely doing Azure and only Azure, nothing else, because you know that we have Enter ID, right? And Enter ID also, when we say Microsoft 365, there's Enter ID. So we have emails, we have the devices, we have our on premises, we have online resources. So Enter IDs here and there. So it is actually on top of everything. Then we have Microsoft 365 and Azure. So we can say, okay, my account in Azure, because my account in Azure actually is my account in Enter ID. So usually, if something is compromised in Azure, it uses the account, which is inherently also some attack vector, actually entry point in through the email or through on premises or something else, and there you go. Immediately you are also in the Microsoft 365 world as well, where you need all the different tools and to protect these assets as well. So I would say maybe you could be a specialistic or specialized in one product, but also I think that to be a good security person, that you also need to know a little bit to the left and to the right, and actually how these tools work together, and at least what they are and what they're used for, and so on. So that is for example, what I think. So I mean, whether you like it or not, you're being dragged into the different areas as well. For example, let's look at the Sentinel. The Sentinel is the overarching product that is ingesting the data from everywhere, not just from Azure, but from Microsoft 365, Azure, AWS, GCP, on-premises, third-party, everywhere, and then analyzes what's going on. So that's we can't say specifically, okay, we are doing just security in Azure. But yeah, there are definitely some products that exist in Azure that are specific to Azure that have their specific purpose, right? Like you said, it's and today a lot of at least my colleagues that are Azure MVPs are also security MVPs as well, at least some of them, right? So that's how I became one. I was Azure MVP from the beginning, but then have done security always. And then this also extended. So I've gotten the security recognition in security category, right?
Do you think that it is a little confusing that we have, for example, many defenders? Defender for Office 365, Defender for some other services. Can you explain what is the concept? Why we have, for example, similar services, but considering for different part of Azure or other products?
Excellent question. And yes, that's in fact, I have a very good slide for that one. So for example, yes, Shift F5 should work. Oh, yes, there is one. So for example, this is the one typical reason why we need different products. I mean, all these products, in fact, we have Microsoft Graph, right? And Microsoft Graph has all the, let's say, data from our tenant, from our environment. And when you query the graph, there are a lot of tables, a lot of columns, a lot of attributes. For example, take a look at the user. User can have hundreds of attributes, or device, dozens and hundreds of attributes. A device has some typical attributes that are typical for a device, like operating system or CPU or memory, or vendor, for example, Android, Microsoft, Apple, whatever it is, BlackBerry, or I don't know, IBM, or actually not IBM, but Lenovo, and so on. The version of a browser, whether it's joined or into the Enter ID or not. The user has its own specific attributes that can be found in graph. For example, name, last name, address, phone, or title, department. But both of these, and that also applies to, I don't know, virtual machine and or storage. The storage also has a name, where it's stored, what type of storage it is. There are a lot of attributes that describe these different artifacts or items. But all of these also have something in common. For example, the tenant ID, or for example, or the timestamp, or some others that are similar, right? So the timestamp exists also for the user, for a device, for a blob, for a file. So it determines when it was accessed, or when you can. So the timestamp is actually the entry that is tied to a certain point of time. So that's why we have these different attributes, which of one of which a couple of ones are the same, right? And all of these products, in fact, look specifically in specific parts of look for specific attributes and work with specific attributes. So, for example, if we talk about Defender for Office 365. Defender for Office 365 looks for attributes that are related to email communication, for example, for email attachments and mailboxes and so on. The Defender for Endpoint looks for manipulates or takes advantage of attributes that are related to devices like device ID or operating system and so on. And that can also easily apply to all of them, like Defender for IoT, for Endpoint, for Office 365. For identity, for example, this is the product that looks, that manipulates, that takes advantage of information that can be derived from attributes from identities on premises. So, for example, like some GPOs or OUs or domains and servers and so on. So all of these products actually have one pool source of information, but the algorithms that these products were built on or that they work on use specific attributes, and they give us information about this specific behavior that they analyze based on these specific attributes. Of course, Defender for Office 365 has algorithms that analyzes whether the email is okay or attachment is okay and so on. It doesn't use, for example, some IoT specific attributes, like the IoT specific algorithms don't work with email attributes, right? That's why we need that's why we have specific products, because these are the specific and have algorithms, have a have applications that work with these specific data that can tell us based on that data whether there are any problems with the specific items that they analyze. IoTs, whether they're compromised or not, whether the email is a phishing email, whether the attachment is a malicious one, whether this I don't know, maybe this virtual machine is compromised, or maybe the I don't know, the on-premises account is compromised, or whether these are whether there is a mimikatz, for example, someone is working with that in on premises and so on. So they analyze behavior of and of these specific attributes, and then provide us with the result. Okay, we have a malicious URL or malicious activity or something like that. So that's why we need a specific product. So it will be the best when we would have one license, one product, and yeah, but that license probably would cost 10,000 euros per month, right? And not everyone will need IoT, Office, and so on. It will be very difficult also to maintain that. So in order to maintain, it's like the architecture, it's like microservices, right? So it's like having monolithic applications or, or others. So segmenting this is it's beneficial in multiple ways. For example, the algorithms and the product themselves can be fine-tuned and developed in better manner, much faster and much secure and better, for example. And then it's cheaper for us as well, because we can say, okay, we are a company of 10 users. We need protection for email, and then we need protection for our endpoints for laptops. But we don't have any IoTs. We don't have any on premises. We don't have any cloud apps. We don't have anything else. So we don't need these tools, and we don't actually buy them. So we have only two licenses, I would say, for these two types of products, which is more granular, more secure, and so on. And these products are specific. Yes, previously these products had different names, but now I think these are now a little bit more streamlined, and once you start working with them, It was also confusing for me, all right? But then as you delve a little bit deeper into them, then you have a very clear vision of who does what and why and where and so on. So it sounds complicated, but it takes just a small amount of work with them to to settle the things in a head and actually start figuring out actually why we have these products and what they do and so on. Fortunately, we have some very nice PDFs and information online and so on that can help us with that, like the Microsoft marketing material and helps and so on.
But now we have also Copilot for security, and Copilot is threat in general. These AI-enabled assistants that have also a
Yeah.
lot of functional tasks, but can you share a little more exactly about this service and how people can use it?
Yeah. So there are a lot of copilots. There is not just a copilot for security, but the Copilot actually, what is this? I mean, any Copilot, what is it? So we have Microsoft has we generate a lot of data. So, for example, when you let simple in a simple way, for example, when you have a we use KQL that Microsoft invented, acoustic query language, which is the SQL-like language to query the graph, the data that we've streamed, to query actually not the graph, but the log analytics workspace data that resides in, and to get some insight out of the data that, for example, Sentinel has collected, or or any Microsoft Defender product have collected. We need to know KQL, right? And for very simple queries, not a problem. For a couple of lines, we have also very extensive repository on the GitHub online and so on. People share the scripts. Microsoft published a lot of scripts for Defenders and for Sentinel and so on, for different types of behaviors and etc. There are tons of them. But what if you want to know and write a very, very specific script that will look for a very specific case, and then you need to do it now because the time is of the essence. You don't have to time to learn very complex scenarios, and maybe you don't know how to write it. Maybe you need some more natural way to describe the things, and that's where the Copilot comes in. So any Copilot here, whether it's Bing or, for example, in security, you can ask in a natural language, please show me everywhere where the user this and that one logged in or had been I don't know active, or where this file occurrence has been noted in whatever the complex or more complex or less complex query is. You can do it in a natural language, and Copilot is there to help you. So, for example, are there any threat intelligence intelligence indicators that will indicate that my this and this server is compromised by a third party, whatever it is, and then you will get the result. So without actually needing to know a complex queries. One caveat, of course. The point is, the Copilot for security or any other Copilot is to summarize extremely vast data and give you the insight in very timely manner. So it is still Copilot. It is not Pilot, right? So it is the co-pilot. So we are the pilots, and this is the co-pilot, which means this is to help us. And you need to understand also some of AI, which right? So the AI is math, and there's always some number behind that, and there always has to be some number behind that that makes a decision to be black and white, 0 or 1, right? Or whether it's something is true or not true. So whether this is the possibility, or actually the chance of something being true or not true. And we have these percentages, right? Because we always talk about the numbers between 0 and 1. And that's where the copilot and the results might also be different than the one that we expect. But the biggest the data set, and the biggest the training model is, then of course with that also depends on how that also depends on the quality of the data that we have, the data that we prepared, the algorithms, and etc. That also influences how correct results will be. And this the bigger the data sets, the better chances that we will get the correct result. But still, always we have to take this with a grain of salt. And of course we are the ones that need to interpret these results, of course. But I see it as it as extremely helpful way to get things faster than before. So it makes sense more probably in the bigger environments. But also I see it as a help in smaller environments as well, as the algorithms get better, as we as individuals or smaller companies have a little bit more data to work with, and so on. So it is valuable, because there's no 100% of secure. No one is 100% secure, right? There's no company that is 100% secure. And the point is that we need to be as fast as we can be fast to get to the point where we will catch the intruder, or figure out something. And that's where the autopilot, or actually the copilot, helps us. So writing the query in natural language, summarizing, correlating, um, asking anything about asking to summarize, to cut noise, for example, to in fact raise the security posture, for example. Yes. So that will be, for example, I know, write me a report that summarizes the findings from the investigation, that incorporates this and this threat vectors, or actually threat intelligence indicators. It should be suitable for technical audience or non-technical audience, or actually, I don't know, give me the results, for example, create a new query that will give me these and these results, etc. Or some little bit more complex scenarios can be pursued and completed in much more faster way. So it's an assistant that will give us an edge from between us and the attackers. So it has a really good potential. I look forward to it when it will be broadly available. Now it is promising, like other co-pilots, but of course you need to know what to expect and what to ask, and so on. So it also
So you need still to know in some details security and what exactly you want to do. Copilot cannot help you without this base knowledge.
Oh, exactly, because yeah, that's true. That's why it is a co-pilot. It's not a pilot. So you, as a security analyst, need to know what to ask and how to ask. Of course, what you're looking for. You need to know what you look for. So if you see I know an alert that some hands-on attacks or mimikatz has been triggered, or some suspicious, for example, the typical, if you leave port 3389 open, which is RDP, on a virtual machine, you will get unsuccessful login attempt, for example, or you will get sign-in log failed alert in Defender for Cloud and Sentinel. Then you will have to know what to do about it. So then you will ask, okay, uh, you will take a look at this, for example, IP address from where this unsuccessful login attempt was made. You'll take a look at the possible names that were used in this unsuccessful login attempt, and you will ask Copilot, um, in this time frame, are there any unsuccessful login attempts that have been successful? Yes or no? Give me the list of all IP addresses and usernames, and then you will get one. And then you will ask, for example, uh, give me all the results when these email addresses, or actually IP addresses, are present in the system, and format this and report this and that, and so on. Look for potential behavior. Also take a look at the threat intelligence and so on. So this is practically, for example, if you have to write 5 queries and spend 2 hours, this could be one natural prompt that will give you the results in 5 minutes or in 15 minutes, for example. And it's all about security. So getting shortening the time between an alert happens or a breach happens, and between when you, as a security analyst, actually determine whether there was a breach or not breach, what happened, and whether you mitigate this, and so on. So it is very valuable. So it saves time. It is increases efficiency, but also, of course, it is not. We're not supposed to sit like this on a beach and then Copilot does everything. So it's, but it is still something that we have to do.
We have something also from attendees, I think, like question
Yeah,
from
it sounds like
Sergey.
something out of a sci-fi movie or hacker film. Yes, yeah, it looks like, yeah, and it's not, like the movie where the people just tap 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 and then I'm in. It's, of course, it's not like this. But yes, it is. It's something. It looks something like that. So you type something and then computer gives you an answer. But it is in fact very very nice, very intelligent math and algorithms. So first of all, it's these are large language models that have existed for a while now. They're more efficient and we have more power, but they're being utilized in all over the places, not just in security, but all over the places for in our 365 ecosystem, in our tenant. I have Copilot for 365 that doesn't look in Log Analytics workspace data, where Sentinel has access to, but you look into your data in your tenant, your files, Teams, email, chats, messages, and so on. Imagine that you have a company that has 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 users. You're an admin, and you need to go through and find out who had a meeting and mentioned this and that, or actually, for example, summarize me all the meetings that happened in European countries, or in all worldwide, in all departments. So simple as that. For example, I'm just saying things out of my hand. But this is also possible, and with a Copilot, we can potentially do that. Without it, it's going to be a little bit more. We can do that as well, but it's going to be a little bit more work and more people and more time.
By the
So
way,
that
here is one interesting point related to copilots and OpenAI and security regarding to confidential information. Can you share a little more if you have experience in this direction about Azure confidential computing and how it is related to OpenAI and how actually people can rely on these services and don't afraid that their data will go somewhere in different place.
I mean, there are secure secure and ethical principles that Microsoft work on, and that that implement when it works with AI. And that means, for example, if you look at the Microsoft 365 or anything else, is that your data is your data. So you have an LLM, you have a model, and your data is not used to train the model. And just remember that we are talking about the cloud and cloud uses, and one of the premises of the cloud is also the trust model as well. So, but if you think about the trust model exists outside of computing as well. For example, um, where you have your money in the bank, right? And why? Because you trust the bank, right? You trust the bank not to spend your money, and you trust the bank that you will get the money once you need it, which is not always the case, because there are cases when you might not get the money at all, because some countries have some banks and regulations have some limit. For example, in some countries, the regulation says that the banks guarantee, or the state guarantee you the investment into the bank up to 100,000 euros. Anything after that is not guaranteed at all. So if the bank goes bankrupt, there goes your money. But you put your money in the first place in the bank because you trust the bank, right? You're uh, exactly. But yes, that's the point. I mean, you can always we are forced into it, but um, I don't say that we don't have a trust in these, but yeah, but even the banks, there are, I don't know, dozens or hundreds of banks thousands of banks worldwide. Some of the banks are more liquid and have more liquidity, and some of them have less, and that's also influences yes, that's also influences where you're gonna put your money in. So probably in some obscure banks, and the banks that have some dodgy, shady investors and owners, you probably won't put in. But some of the banks that have been here for hundreds of years probably evoke more trust in you, right? For example, and that's also in there. But yeah, we trust that. I mean, you trust Apple, you trust Android or Samsung or Google or whoever, Xiaomi, and that is not selling your data, or Facebook or LinkedIn. We can, well, there's a rabbit hole, right? We can go in. So Instagram and so on. So for example, people don't look at these terms of agreement when they send the pictures online, but clearly some services also state in fine print that whatever you upload is not longer your picture or your ownership, but it's ownership of the companies where you uploaded these items, artifacts. So you actually are not the owner of anything. So these companies can use these artifacts however they can. In fact, on the other hand, Microsoft doesn't do that. And why? Because one loss of trust and one lawsuit in one case will be devastating, not just for Microsoft, but for any other company. People will lose trust, stocks will go down, the users will lose faith, and so on. And the market is cruel. It won't uh, forget the mistakes, and there will be immediately someone else who will take the advantage. Just look at the mobile market that have changed over the time. So there's someone always who seizes the opportunity for that. So there's always a limit to where you have put your trust into it. So, for example, if it's nuclear codes for launching nuclear rockets, probably this won't be put in any of the clouds, right? But put in somewhere in a safe. But if it's your report and document in Word, it's completely safe in the cloud or in Microsoft 365, because Microsoft has a pretty good transparency, privacy, service trust portal where you can see all the documents, certifications, and everything that relate to security and compliance, regulatory compliance, and so on. There are also auditing documents. So everything that transparency politics of Microsoft does, it's to ensure us customers that we can trust, and we in fact trust, right? There's no reason not to trust. So they also say that these models that they use in that Microsoft uses in Copilot for 365 are already trained models. There are LLMs that are trained, and these models just use your data to give you the answers from your data. So it's not your data is not used to train the model. And for example, the Microsoft LLM initially training the model is not so easy. It doesn't happen in a minute or in a second. The initial probably I won't say this correct because I forgot the correct numbers, but I will just say the magnitude of training the model. Training the model initially took, I think, 9 days, and it cost like billions of dollars. So it is not so easy to train a model and not so cheap. And imagine losing the customers over that. So speaking of which, you can also find this in the documentation, but Microsoft is not using your data to train the model. Your data is only used to give you the results about your data in it. So when you ask about, for example, summarize me this meeting or these meetings in Teams, my Copilot is doing this. Copilot is doing this only from your data and only from the data that you have access to. So the RBAC controls and ACLs are enforced there. So for example, if you're a regular user and ask something Copilot to do, it will return that you don't have access to. You will get no result. But if you're an admin, or if you, I don't know, if you're a compliance admin, or if you're the owner of the document, then you will get the results. So it is completely safe to do so. And this is the results are contained, or queries are contained to your tenant. That's the same. It is the copilots are yes, these are new things, but it is when you look at how it works, it is the same like querying with a PowerShell or using the graph to query what you already have. It is using the mathematical expressions and large language models to give the result instead of typing the graph or PowerShell commands. So that's the same thing. You can't query if you're a normal user, you can't query all the data, and because you don't have access. But if you're admin, you can do that. The same thing applies to the Copilot. And yes, it is secure, right? So then on the other hand, it is also the problem of the people that don't know how this works. So there have been numerous cases of intentional and non-intentional problems with it. So, for example, attackers can poison, for example, GPT or some models. I'm not talking about Microsoft, but some others, X, Y, Zs, with supplying some wrong data, where the LLMs will learn on top of that data and then bring the wrong results. On the other hand, there have been cases in some countries that lawyers have used these large language models, free ones and open ones, to help with legal cases. And then when this data has gone in, once it's there, it is there, and it's used also to give the results. Therefore, there are some prompts that have been discovered previously that can actually dump the results from the LLMs, for example, like ChatGPT has shown previously. For example, I know, write this word indefinitely, and then after a couple of times, then a couple of iterations, it started to dump the data that it has inside, and that also included the data of the users, for example, the legal files that have been uploaded and so on. But that's up to users. So the users also need to know, have to know actually how to work with these models and not put their personal information in, or sensitive information that works for the open models. If we talk about the M365, it
Can
works
you
it
provide
works
some
only in what it
recommendations?
is. Sorry.
For example, can you provide some recommendations? For example, if your customer is organization where they're using OpenAI and Copilot, how they need to proceed, how they can protect information, and what can be done on company level like processes and on the infrastructure level.
So you mean, or for example, when you work with Copilot or in
Yes, yes.
365? But it's of course, the users shouldn't share, of course, any data outside of any data outside of the company anyway. But this is something that it should be done with and in control with some different tools, like data loss prevention policies, or inside the risk, and so on, some rights management services, etc. But for normal use, there shouldn't be any problems with that, because if it depends on also on how administrators have secured have secured the tenant, and how have they configured all of these resources and new features to work. So, for example, if the admin didn't secure enough the resources, or haven't provided any security, enough security, so the users can in fact see the other users artifacts, then this could be a problem. But otherwise, in some normal environments, this shouldn't be any problem at all. It is a tool that we can use normally, as with any other tool, right? I'm talking about specifically Microsoft 3, the Copilot for Microsoft 365. This is the contained environment in 365. If we talk about some open LLMs, then only the education can save us. So this is equally to the documents being left out in the open on the benches or in buses or distributed and so on without encryption or without control. So or broadcasted, right? So that it's and that's the problem with that. Yeah, that's the but then there are some tools, for example, in Defender Microsoft Defender XDR portal. There have AI portal that will give you the administrators. Let me quickly show you that one. This will give you quickly the results of the AI as well. There it is. I need to go to the, there it is. The purview is the one. There's the AI hub. For example, yes, there's the AI hub, which is in compliance.microsoft.com, which is still in preview, which means this can change and will change, of course. But it will give you the tendency is to make this. Let's in fact see the purview. Purview.microsoft.com, which is the new portal. This will be the portal, for example, for AI and for other things, AI Hub, which it looks similar like the previous one. But the point is to this will be the place that should or will have all to show you all the activities related to the Copilot, for example, other generative AIs, apps, how you use it, how to protect, what is the sensitive data. Of course, the users should also know how this data is being used and what. I mean, you can't say don't use the company sensitive data in Word while you have to use Word because you write with that. But I see the question. A bit confusing. Why AI is mixed with Purview? Oh yes. Well, it might change, but the Purview in fact will be the compliance. The Purview in fact here, which is compliance.microsoft.com, is the compliance portal. So that's why the compliance is here. So if we have a sensitive file that is available somewhere, then it's the compliance issue. So for example, here's the total interaction. For example, you can see the details, for example, and so on, who did it, who did what, and why, who what was it, interactions with sensitive data. This is the I mean, the education is still something that has to be that we should put emphasis on. So this is purely to give you the insight how the AIs and generative AIs actually have access to the data. But this is nothing. This is not something that is outside of your environment anyway. This is the same thing when you go to the compliance portal and say, tell me of all the sensitive data that you have found when the labeler labeled our files. We have, so that's the same thing. So this data is there. But here, for example, you have the hub that only gives you one aspect where the sensitive data is being used. So you can actually put an emphasis on it. For example, what it means. It means that we don't know yet, for example, where if there's going to be some zero-day exploit, for example, and if they're going to be, I'm saying this hypothetically, if there's going to be some zero-day exploit of a Copilot, then the user in Copenhagen might see the data of the financial transactions and the customers of the same. I'm not talking about the different company, about the same company, uh, which usually shouldn't be seen, for example. But other than that, only the managers or financial workers should have this documented, should have these documents visible to them and not to the others. For example, that's it. But we'll still have these sensitive documents anyway. People use Access, people use Excel, people use Word. We still have this sensitive data. We have DLP, we have information protection. There is the sensitive data. That's why we have this. But the Copilot is only intelligent mathematics that and queries that takes a look at all of these data that we already have and give us the results. So that's the only thing that it is. It's maybe, to put it bluntly, it's not the rocket science, which means it seems when I say it like this, it's not complicated. In fact, it is. AI and mathematics and data science is complicated. It is actually very sophisticated maths, but it is not something that here is created out of the blue and out of the nothing. It is all the data that we already have, but we have a tool that can help us to work with that data more efficiently and give us the insight, whether it's security, whether it's a new picture or a new PowerPoint or new whatever. That is what AI, for example, here is in Copilot. So that might also change, of course. We have these policies, for example, right? Now it's only one policy here, for example, for communication compliance, which means unethical behavior in Copilot. And also this in fact, manipulates, actually triggers the content matches of any of these trainable classifiers, for example, these. That's the same thing that you have also inside the risk, for example. So it's not a big deal. So this particularly works actually is related to AI. So and
Yeah,
this might
I
change.
asked
This is in
you
preview, right?
mostly because AI, especially generative AI and copilots now are trend, and people usually
Yeah,
are interested how they can use it and to help them in different areas. Uh,
exactly.
I know that you are an expert in several different technologies, so there is interesting point about multi-cloud security, because if we are in the same cloud, maybe there are tools that can help us in the context of this cloud. But if we have, for example, infrastructure where we have different solutions on different clouds, and they should work together, what exactly is your recommendation how to protect our systems?
Well, if you work, yeah, most of a lot of companies nowadays also are multi-cloud companies, right? More today than yesterday, and they will be more and more. Exactly, that's true. Purview and Sentinel, but I would say, first of all, if you work with AWS, you have a security center there that gives you the security insight of infrastructure and ecosystem in AWS. If you work with GCP, Google Cloud Platform, there are tools and products that give you the security information there as well. And Microsoft has a really nice tool that and products that also span all of these, which is very smart because people don't like visiting too many portals. They need to, first of all, the less portals we have, the less fiddling between multiple login attempts and portals and products and clouds. Microsoft intelligently incorporated that in, for example, in Defender for Cloud, which is unfair name, which it's Defender for Cloud, which is of course the cloud solution for protecting the Azure, AWS and GCP, but it's also for protecting the on-premises environments as well. Some Azure DevOps and GitHub and GitLab too. So there is, of course, like this slide says, okay, now we have this Microsoft Sentinel, which is overarching everything in here, because yeah, the Sentinel, of course, has to the Sentinel has ability to ingest the data from all over the places and then present, and then we can ask that data, ask the data for some intelligence overview. But yes, last portal, it looks like they multiply, yeah, sometimes it looks like they multiply, but so, for example, I don't know if we take a look at the let's say this one, and if we take a look at the yeah, right, this new Microsoft Purview portal is the new one, so we have another portal. But if you take the, not compliance actually, but actually security, security.microsoft.com, we have some consolidation, right? We have these cloud apps consolidated into the Microsoft Defender, which is okay. I like it because it is here, so you don't have to visit another portal. So at least here we have one less worry. There is a new addition, for example, some things from Microsoft Sentinel from Azure Portal have been put here, which I also salute, which is also okay, because now when for example you do threat hunting, when you do configuration, when you need to move fast, for example, you can do it from one window. We also have, of course, we have also Entra Microsoft.com, which I would say, okay, another portal. Uh, yes, but I still use Azure Portal. You don't have to use this one. It is here for your convenience, I would say. But you don't have to use it. I use it very rarely, unless I do some verified IDs or permission management, for example, or global secure access. But for every other thing, maybe because I'm used to use the Azure portal, when I do the management of the users, I always use the Azure portal and PowerShell and so on. A little bit less this one, like 90 to 10%, for example, in favor of the Azure portal. But yes, the point is, there are some other tools and other portals that we can use, right? But yeah, there is of course also when we'll take a look at the portal at azure.com, for example, Microsoft has one very nice tool, and this is the Defense for Cloud, which is not just for cloud. It is for um, AWS, GCP projects. It is when we take a look at the environmental settings, for example. Let's move this a little bit away. Then we can manage the security of Azure infrastructure, of AWS, of GCP, of GitHub, Azure DevOps, and GitLab, for example. So we do have some AWS specific security settings in AWS console. We do have also in GCP, but having one portal that will give us the immediate look at the security posture, and what is even more important, it is about prioritizing what we need to do. So if we take a look at the recommendations, certainly there are a lot of things that we can do in all of the 3 clouds, for example, or 10,000 clouds, whatever we have, and we can have here multiple Azure clouds or multiple AWS clouds. But the point is that we have that we need a place to prioritize what to do, and that is what the Defense for Cloud is. We will see, okay, this machine lacks these things, this machine lacks that, or if we take a look at if I turn off the Azure subscription here, there we have S3 buckets, which is a storage public access settings, should be enabled. And I can do that. I can see that right here from Defense for Cloud. Okay, this gave me an insight what it is. I can click here. I can mitigate that, and I can trigger a logic app. I can go direct. I can go there in the Amazon console. There is how to remediate, so I don't have to go elsewhere. I don't have to look some manuals. I don't have to wander around. So it's all about shortening the time. It's all about being efficient. It's cutting time, and it's also about doing the right thing right away, because we can have here a lot of recommendations. For example, you can have a lot of these recommendations. We have 39 pages right here. So out of 39 pages, maybe we have 300 recommendations. What is the recommended what will be the first one that you will remediate, that you will resolve? Probably the ones that have the high risk, or the ones that actually give you the most points, for example, in security posture. So it will say, okay, I have this very low security posture. I have this very low score. I will take a look at the recommendation of, for example, I don't know, these environments, and then I will say, okay, out of these 100 things, there are 5 things that I should do, because I will have a bigger score or bigger impact. It will be done faster, and that's it. So that's the same thing as if you go to the security portal, for example, here. So there's also was the thing that you have to, for example, if it's the compliance, for example, there's a compliance manager, and there's score there as well. It's not a game. It's not just to filling this empty space with fancy graphics. It's also to compare your posture from what it was yesterday, or today's posture to the tomorrow's one. And key improvement actions, I have 312, but you have to take one first. Which one you will take? These one, because these are the top ones. So create customized policies, protect content, and I don't know, implement account lockout. So you will get the most points here. So these are the priorities. It's not just about, it's not the game, so we collect the points. It's about prioritizing things that we should do. in order to raise the security posture. So if click on here, and if I take a look at the very last thing, for example, one of the last things, probably this one is not the most important one because it's the 200th one or 300th one. But what we need to do, we need to focus on the most important ones, and that's why we have different scores, different lists, different prioritization, and other things. For example, that's why we have Defender for Cloud that can give us the recommendations for different clouds, different risk factors, for example, and the risk levels, for example, only high. And then we can go, oh, okay, machines should have vulnerability, find these results. Let's go there and be secure, right? So that's Defender for Cloud. And then we have oh yeah, depends the compliances number of recommendations growing. Yes, of course. But no matter, this is a small environment, I have 300. In much bigger environments, you will have thousands of them. But out of thousands, it helps when you have Defender for Cloud, and then you can, for example, prioritize these, and you can remediate, for example, some of them, whether using let's say whether using automated capabilities in in Defender for Cloud, or using logic caps and so whatever it is. It helps for raising the security and to prioritize and to shorten the time. So there will always be some work to do, but yes, we're more and more efficient in what we do, right? And then we have Sentinel, of course.
Okay, thank you very much for this explanation. At the end, can you provide some general recommendations for our attendees and people from the community, what they need to consider when they design solutions in Azure and in general regarding to your experience? The first several most important things.
Well, there are a couple of things. So, for example, I would say, since we are looking at the Defender for Cloud, I would say Defender for Cloud also has these couple of plans, and Defender for Cloud also has Defender for Cloud actually can do some recommendations when you already have something in the cloud, right? But there is the foundational cloud security posture management, which is this one, the CSPM, which is free, which gives you the details about continuous assessment, security recommendations, and secure score. So it won't cost you anything, and I suggest that you use this one. So it is free, you can use it um, without any problems. And also other scores and recommendations, these are very good, so you should do that. But there are some things that I would recommend, and that is the cloud, sorry about that, uh, um, cloud adoption framework. There is cloud adoption framework for Azure. We have 9 pillars here. So the cloud adoption framework is like it says, is proven guidance and best practices that help you confidently adopt the cloud and achieve business outcomes. So it has 9 pillars. It means that there are pillars in adoption: strategy, planning, readiness, adoption, govern, manage, secure, organize, and other things, and then some resources. But the cloud adoption framework is, as Microsoft describes it, is for the companies are starting with the cloud, but I would say it's not just for the companies that are starting with the cloud. I would say this is very much applicable for the companies that are already in the cloud, but also they want to improve their security, business outcomes, and agility, resilience, and everything. Cut the cost, etc. This is tied together with the architecture framework here, for example. But for example, with well architected framework, this is another solution, or actually another set of guidances. As Microsoft says, it has 5 pillars for the companies that are already in the cloud. About the design, architecture, security, cost optimization, and so on. These are the pillars: reliability, performance, efficiency, and so on. So these are more targeted towards the companies that are already in the cloud. They have the guidance and so on. But the cloud adoption framework, so imagine this one. For example, imagine that you have a degree in economy, or you don't have a degree in economy, whatever it is. You don't have a clue how to build a house, and you want to build a house, and the money is not a problem. Let's say that that I'm a very generous and rich man, and then I'll give you all the cement, all the wood, all the tools, all the trucks, all the people, personnel, how to build a house. Do you know how to build a house? Probably not. You have some clue because you played SimCity or Civilization or whatever, or you know how the house looks like, right? But you don't know how to build a house because you don't have experience in that. And you probably will build the house because you know that water and cement actually gives the concrete and so on. But will that house, when the house will be built, will it be stable? Will it be safe? Will it be earthquake proof? Will it be fireproof? Will it be when you when you heat the house, will it be efficient? Will it be like the um, uh, like the Swiss cheese, and you will spend like millions in heating the house, or you will freeze? So there are the proper ways how to build a house, and there are not proper ways how to build a house. And that's why we need the cloud option framework. The cloud option framework as is the proper way to build an Azure infrastructure and Azure to work, to go, to implement, to adopt the Azure. So that's why we have that. And this is the document I would recommend to everyone to start with, even if you started to read it, because it has a really nice gems. So these are the proven methodologies from Microsoft, from partners over the time. These are recommended practices, the best practices, so you can apply these. So it is a framework. So it is how to do stuff the right way, because the cloud is agile, right? We can, of course, we can create a machine in a minute, or delete it in a minute, and so on. But what if you have a website, a web shop, and you're selling stuff, and then and then suddenly imagine, and then figure out after 6 months that this is way too costly, and that you can, instead of spending 5,000 euros per month, you can spend 500. But you can't dismantle the environment because you have all these products that are running. You can't just delete everything and then start again, because the people will lose access, you will lose customers, and so on. So the cloud is agile, but you can't just decommission the SQL Server when the SQL Server is in production. It's not just that easy. That's why we have a cloud option framework that will help us how to do the stuff the right way. And that is also for security. That comes when you implement things correctly, then it's easier and less costly to implement security and so on. So there are best practices. There are patterns how to do stuff, and there are anti-patterns how not to do stuff. So what to avoid, what is good and what is bad. So this is one of the, I would say, the best articles, the best documents. There's a lot, but the Cloud Option Framework actually is one very, very good one. It has a lot of scenarios, a lot of journeys, a lot of foundational alignments, and other stuff. It's a really good one. And once you are here, take a look at the architecture, and then after that, go to the well architected framework, and then use this one as well. So this is more applicable when you are already in the cloud, because it can this has 5 pillars, and reliability, security, cost optimization, excellence, and efficiency. And this is about improving in all of these areas. So consider both. Both are very, very good documents. Why is this not just for the people for the companies that are starting with cloud? Because even if you already have something, there are definitely some things that you can improve when you read these documents. So yes, definitely this will be the first one that I would recommend to do that, and also utilize every free tier that you have in the Defender for Cloud, and free tier, for example, in Sentinel, for example, for the first for the that you have. There are some free. There is something that is there is some data that is free to ingest in Sentinel. Some Azure data, Office 365 data that is free to ingest as well. So I will suggest that you take advantage also of these free tiers too.
Yeah, thank you very much for this explanation. And at the end, maybe if there are some questions from our attendees, it will be good to finish with a review of what our attendees asked. I see very good feedback.
Thanks a lot, Ilya.
And
It's been a pleasure.
yeah, you are a really very, very interesting person in the context of security, and it will be great to have you again at our events, online and in person, maybe soon.
Definitely.
We will post this recording from the session, and it will be available in the YouTube channel of our Bulgarian Software Community Association.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for having me today. I have been in Bulgaria in the past, but it will be great to do the session in person as well.
You're welcome. I will send you information for upcoming events, and it will be very beneficial for our community if you can join our events also in person.
Definitely.
Thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Michal. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.